The crowd laughed so hard that some people wiped tears from their eyes when a quiet black boy handed over his last $90 for a blackened hotel safe that looked like nothing more than a twisted lump of burned steel. They mocked him for buying a box full of ashes, never imagining that what rested inside would not only rewrite his future, but also uncover a forgotten act of extraordinary kindness that had been buried beneath decades of dust, regret, and silence. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another inspiring story that reminds us how one small decision can change an entire life. By the time 18-year-old Preston Avery reached the county auction grounds, the morning sun had already warmed the gravel parking lot, and rows of abandoned furniture, damaged machinery, rusted farm tools, and salvaged building materials stretched across the open field. Preston had arrived on an old bicycle with patched tires because he could not afford a truck or even a driver's license yet. His faded backpack held a bottle of water, a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in wax paper, and exactly $90 folded carefully inside an envelope. That money had taken him nearly 8 months to save through odd jobs, collecting scrap metal, mowing lawns, and repairing broken bicycles for neighbors who could not pay much but always appreciated his effort. Every dollar represented sweat, skipped meals, and sacrifices. His grandmother, Eleanor, had raised him alone after his parents died in a highway accident when he was 7. She constantly reminded him that poor people survived by seeing value where others saw garbage. Those words stayed with him every single day. The auction had been organized after the demolition of the historic Hawthorne Grand Hotel, a century-old landmark that had burned during an electrical fire months earlier. Most valuable items had already been recovered before demolition crews leveled the unstable building, but many damaged objects remained. Buyers hoped to find antiques, copper wiring, brass fixtures, or forgotten collectibles hidden beneath soot. Preston wandered quietly from table to table, studying each item with patient curiosity instead of excitement. While everyone chased polished treasures, his attention settled on something no one else even bothered examining. Resting alone near a stack of twisted beams was an enormous hotel safe. The fire had scarred its thick steel door until it looked almost melted. Its combination dial had cracked, and its hinges were stained with smoke and rust. A faded brass plate still carried the hotel's name beneath layers of black soot. People joked that even if anything had once been inside, the flames had destroyed it long ago. Preston didn't know why he couldn't stop staring at it. Maybe it was because everyone else ignored it. Maybe it was because his grandmother had taught him never to confuse appearances with truth. He walked around it several times, noticing something unusual. The outer shell was badly burned, but the heavy door still appeared slightly aligned. High-quality hotel safes were designed to protect documents from intense heat. The fire might have scarred the exterior without reaching the protected compartment inside. When bidding started, nobody raised a paddle. The auctioneer sighed dramatically. "Who'll give 50? Silence. 30? Still nothing. Finally Preston lifted his number. The crowd turned. Someone laughed. Another man muttered loudly that the kid had finally found junk worthy of his wallet. The bidding climbed only because two salvage dealers briefly competed over the scrap steel value before losing interest. Preston stretched every dollar until the hammer finally struck. $90. Sold. The laughter became louder. Preston smiled politely, thanked the workers who helped load the safe onto an old borrowed utility cart, and slowly pulled it home behind his bicycle through quiet country roads under the bright afternoon sun. The trip took nearly 3 exhausting hours. Sweat soaked his shirt, and several strangers offered sympathetic looks, believing he had wasted everything he owned. His grandmother said nothing when she first saw the enormous burned safe resting beside their small garage. Instead, she walked around it carefully before placing one wrinkled hand against the scorched metal. "You saw something," she said softly. "I hope I did." She smiled. "Then that's enough." Neither of them possessed expensive cutting tools, but Preston had spent years repairing machinery from scrap. Instead of attacking the safe recklessly, he carefully studied its construction. He searched old library books about vintage safes, measured every seam, tapped different sections with a small hammer, and patiently removed damaged exterior components. Hours passed beneath the afternoon sunlight. Every movement reflected determination rather than desperation. His grandmother handed him water while quietly watching him work with the same faith she had shown throughout his childhood. Late in the day, just as the sunlight began turning golden, Preston noticed a hidden maintenance panel warped by the fire. After removing several stubborn bolts, he discovered part of the internal locking mechanism remained surprisingly intact. Instead of forcing the door open, he gently manipulated the damaged gears using homemade tools fashioned from bicycle spokes. Then it happened. A deep metallic click echoed through the garage. Neither of them breathed. The heavy door slowly shifted. Preston pulled. For several seconds nothing moved. Then, inch by inch, the safe opened. The interior looked astonishingly untouched. Heat-resistant insulation had protected nearly everything inside. His hands trembled. Stacked neatly on the shelves were leather-bound ledgers, sealed envelopes, velvet jewelry boxes, several bundles of old currency wrapped in deteriorated paper bands, and a locked metal document case. The money itself had significant damage and required professional evaluation, but many pieces remained recognizable. More importantly, tucked beneath the document case rested dozens of handwritten letters preserved almost perfectly. His grandmother covered her mouth. Not because of the money. Because she recognized one name written repeatedly across the envelopes. Harold Whitmore. The original owner of the Hawthorne Grand Hotel. That name had nearly disappeared from local memory. The following morning, Preston contacted the Town Historical Society instead of trying to sell anything. Many people expected a teenager living in poverty to hide the discovery. Instead, he insisted everything should first be documented properly. Historians, legal experts, and city officials carefully examined the safe's contents. What they found stunned the entire county. The ledgers documented decades of anonymous financial assistance quietly provided by Harold Whitmore during the Great Depression. Families facing eviction had secretly received rent payments. Widows had found grocery money left in envelopes. Hospital bills had mysteriously disappeared. Scholarships had quietly appeared for children who otherwise would never have attended school. Every act had been carefully recorded, not to seek praise, but to ensure fairness. Harold had wanted everyone treated equally while remaining completely anonymous. One sealed envelope carried instructions to be opened only if the hotel were ever destroyed. Inside rested a notarized letter. Harold explained that whatever survived inside the safe should become the foundation for a charitable trust benefiting hardworking young people who lacked opportunity but possessed integrity and perseverance. He wrote that wealth only mattered if it continued lifting others long after its owner was gone. The letter had remained hidden for over 60 years. News spread rapidly across the county. Suddenly everyone remembered the teenager they had laughed at only a day earlier. Reporters arrived. Historians celebrated. Former hotel employees shared forgotten stories. Older residents recalled mysterious moments during difficult years when unexpected help had arrived without explanation. The county established the Whitmore Legacy Foundation exactly as Harold had requested. After lengthy legal proceedings, the surviving valuables inside the safe were appraised. Some damaged currency held collectible value. Antique jewelry recovered significant worth. Historical documents attracted museum interest. Insurance settlements connected to unclaimed estate assets also became legally available because the newly discovered records resolved decades-old questions. Since Preston's honesty had directly enabled the discovery and because state salvage laws recognized his legitimate purchase, he received a substantial legal reward approved by the courts and the Whitmore estate representatives. The amount transformed his life forever. Yet those who knew Preston best were not surprised by what he did next. He paid off every debt connected to his grandmother's medical care. He restored their neglected farmhouse instead of buying a mansion. He established a bicycle repair workshop that hired teenagers struggling to find their first jobs. He funded vocational scholarships teaching welding, mechanics, carpentry, and electrical work because he believed skilled hands built strong communities. Most importantly, he never forgot the humiliation of standing alone while strangers laughed. Months later, the county hosted another public auction to raise money for local charities. Preston attended wearing the same simple work boots, though his life had changed dramatically. This time people greeted him with respect rather than amusement. As the auction ended, the elderly auctioneer approached him carrying the original bidding paddle marked with his number. He admitted that he still regretted allowing the crowd's laughter to continue that day. Preston accepted the paddle with quiet gratitude, explaining that if nobody had laughed, he might never have remembered exactly why he needed to remain humble after success. Ridicule had become one more tool that shaped his character instead of breaking it. The audience applauded, not because he had become wealthy, but because he had remained generous. Years later, children visiting the county museum often stopped before the restored burned hotel safe displayed beneath bright lights. Beside it stood photographs of Harold Whitmore and Preston Avery, separated by generations yet connected by one remarkable decision. The museum plaque did not describe the safe as a container of money. Instead, it called it a container of character, explaining that true treasure often remains invisible until someone chooses patience over pride, honesty over greed, and hope over fear. Teachers brought students to see it every spring. Parents shared the story with their children. Grandparents smiled while remembering how quickly public opinion could change. The old safe no longer represented burned metal. It represented hidden potential inside people who refused to surrender to appearances. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us what lesson stayed with you the most. Have you ever been underestimated, or have you ever discovered unexpected value where everyone else saw nothing? Your story might inspire someone else in our community who needs hope today. Preston often said the greatest treasure inside that safe had never been the valuables, the documents, or the reward money. The greatest treasure was discovering that kindness has a way of surviving even the hottest fires, waiting patiently for someone brave enough to uncover it. His grandmother lived long enough to watch hundreds of young people receive opportunities through the foundation and his workshop, and every time another student graduated or another struggling family found help, she would quietly smile because the lesson she had taught a little boy had become a legacy far larger than either of them ever imagined. A burned safe that everyone dismissed as worthless became proof that faith, honesty, and perseverance can unlock blessings no amount of wealth alone could ever buy. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, sometimes the world laughs at the very thing that will one day reveal your greatest blessing, so never let other people's doubts become the lock that keeps you from discovering the treasure waiting inside your own life.